Scott Lackman, 4510 TV podcast series, and here we are again for episode 3. Welcome back to our listeners. Thanks for joining us, our new podcast series through 4510 TV. Hope you enjoyed the first couple of episodes, talking all things real estate and property management related. But today, something different, health and well-being in our community. Guest in the studios today, we have Mark Creedon. Good morning, Mark.
Hello, Scott. Thank you for having me.
No worries, mate. Mark Creedon, tell us who Mark is and where you're from, mate.
Scott, I've lived in Burpengary for all of my life, and I'm a personal trainer in Morayfield.
Okay, so local boy and personal training, mate. When did you get into that?
I've been doing that for 5 years now.
Okay, cool. Now we know you're at Genesis Gym at Morayfield. We're going to do, as we do in our podcast, we're going to cross to Nick Payne, one of the other trainers down there at Genesis, to tell us what they're up to in the gym. But for now, local boy from Burpengary, you do the personal training. You've been doing it 5 years. Obviously, you've got a love for health and well-being, mate.
Yeah, mate, I couldn't imagine doing anything else now. Okay. I love working with people.
All right, cool. So the reason I wanted to talk about health and well-being, I think it's such a large part of our lives these days. And if I reflect back, maybe rewind the clock 20 years ago, there was a Life Be In It theme on TV, and old Norm sitting with the armchair, and Mark's probably a bit young to remember that, but in my day it was Big Norm, Life Be In It, and there was an encouragement across our TV screens to get out and be active and live a healthier life. And I think in recent times we're getting busier with work and family commitments, and I think we maybe forget about that fitness element in our lives. Do you see that with your clients, mate?
Absolutely, Scott. Yeah, I think sometimes people put too much weight on financial gain, or they put too much energy into their work, and they're not giving themselves enough time to actually enjoy their life and focus on their own health.
Yep, and with those time constraints, even just a walk in the park, I think the magic number now is 30 minutes. 30 minutes of exercise a day is better than nothing. Where's your take, mate? How can you encourage people to get out and be active?
Absolutely. I think 30 minutes is a great target to aim for. That's about 1/32 of your waking life if you're sleeping for the 8 hours.
Yep.
That we'd recommend.
And just, even as simple as walking, mate, or?
Yep, absolutely. Walking, if you can do it outside, even better. But obviously within the gym, you've got things like treadmills and bikes and rowers that you can be stationary on.
Yep. And do you think just getting out and being active, that you're the scientist behind personal training, what does that trigger in our bodies? How does just being active, how does it help us?
Okay, so your body is made to move. It's not designed to sit there and be still. So obviously movement means you're using energy, you're using your muscles, you're keeping your body working as it was meant to work.
Yep, and over time, obviously benefits of possibly weight loss and...
Yeah, absolutely. Weight loss, avoiding chronic disease, prolonging your life and the quality of it.
Yep. Excellent. So the importance of health and well-being. Here we are for our podcast, 450 TV. Mark Creedon, our personal trainer from Genesis Gym. We're going to pause for a moment. I do want to cross to Nick at Genesis, and let's just see what's happening at the gym, and maybe a special offering for our listeners after we finish talking to Nick. So bear with us. We're about to dial.
Thank you for calling Genesis at Morayfield. This is Maxine.
Hi, Maxine. Scotty from 450 TV. How you going?
I'm really good, thanks. How are you?
Very good. We're trying to get put through to Nick Payne, please.
Okay, just one moment. I'll put you through.
If you're into fitness classes, we are one of Australia's leading group exercise specialists. Classes are structured to meet...
Hello, it's Nick speaking.
Hey, Nick, Scotty and Mark, 450 TV, and Mark Creedon, personal trainer at Genesis. How you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
Very good, Nick. Now, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We've got Mark in the studios just talking about the importance of health and well-being, but we wanted to cross to you as one of the trainers and facilitators at Genesis. Tell us a little bit about yourself and Genesis, mate.
So my name's Nicholas Payne. I'm the personal training manager and membership consultant down here at Genesis Health and Fitness at Morayfield. I've got my bachelor's in exercise science, and Genesis is one of the local clubs in Morayfield that we pride ourselves on being one of the best communities rather than just being a gym.
Yeah, and with Genesis, mate, how long have you been there at Morayfield?
I've been a member here since 2014 and worked here since 2018.
Okay, and you say the word community, not just a gym. What do you mean by that?
Probably just the feel of the place. We pride ourselves on the staff we have here, rather than just being a place to work out. It's more of a place that people come to meet people, have friends, rather than just being an exercise facility.
And a supportive sort of environment, mate?
Yeah, definitely, mate.
Okay. So the benefits of joining Genesis for our listeners today, what would you say the benefits of joining a gym like yourselves?
Look, mate, there's so many, both physical and psychological. Training-wise, you'll become stronger, fitter, faster. Your balance and stamina will increase. Health-wise, the risk of heart disease, obesity, high cholesterol and high blood pressure will decrease. Exercise has been shown to improve many aspects of both mental health and well-being, and obviously general quality of life will improve within the incorporation of exercise into your life.
Yeah, you're talking a very similar language to Mark on just prior to calling through, and it is all about that. It's that quality of life that we're all striving for, and by the sounds of it, Genesis, I am a member for our listeners as well, but you really put it across that community spirit, the involvement of the trainers on the floor, and just that sense of encouragement for any members. Short, tall, fat, small, I don't know, anyone's welcome there, and I think that's where there's such a variety of what you can offer. With Genesis, Nick, talking about all those walks of life that are in our community, what range of classes do you offer?
So down here at the club, we offer over 40 group fitness classes, including yoga, spin and Les Mills. Then we also have a 30-plus coaching zone sessions using MyZone technology. We have personal training sessions down at the club for that one-on-one service. Heaps of equipment, including Olympic lifting gear, bumper plates, kettlebells, etc. And we also have a ladies-only area, plenty of showers, saunas, and a crèche facilities if you do need those.
Wow, and the classes, mate, sort of starting early in the morning and then late at night for different...
they range from 5 a.m. all the way through to about 7 p.m.
Okay, awesome. Where are we? Membership details. Nick, what's it cost to be a member of Genesis?
Look, we've got heaps of options down here at the club. So our best advice is to come into the club so we can find a membership that works best for you and the goals you want to achieve. Memberships range from the basic do-it-yourself options at $14.95 a week to a full-service coaching from $49.95 per week in our coaching zone.
Okay, sounds great, mate. Thanks for joining us. It's doing the podcast series for our listeners around the local Moreton Bay region. And I probably want to grab you on the spot, Nick. If someone mentions the 4510 TV podcast, can you give any discounts or offerings, mate?
Yeah, look, come down to the club and mention that you heard us on 4510 TV and we'll waive your joining fee and offer you 1 month free on any membership. Holy
dooly. All right, thank you, mate. Very generous. You heard that, listeners. Mention 4510 TV and head down to Genesis, Morayfield Road, just pretty much opposite Bunnings down there, and get along, ask for Nick, and take up that membership offer. Nick, I just want to thank you for your time. We're going to cross back in the studio to Mark and we'll catch you another time.
Sweet, mate. Take it easy.
Sweet. Thanks, Nick. Okay, back in the studios, which is on Morayfield Road, being proudly powered by Richardson&Wrench Real Estate for the 4510 TV podcast series. Back with Mark Creedon. Mark, Nick, obviously a colleague of yours and pretty passionate about Genesis. Is there anything there that you wanted to reflect on or add to?
Scotty, I've worked in several gyms, and I haven't worked in a gym quite like Genesis Morayfield. It has a great community feel. Everyone feels very welcome to be there and supported by members and staff alike. So, what Nick said is accurate. Yeah.
Let's dig a bit deeper. The role of a personal trainer, firstly, let's talk about your study. How did you become a personal trainer?
Okay, so it's a Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, and then you're a personal trainer.
Okay, so
it's
over a period of time, like how long did it take you to do that?
It took me 5 weeks.
Okay,
to do both.
And now in the job, if you had a list of things that your role entails, tell us that.
It goes from fitness instructor right through to therapist.
Okay.
I guess, yeah. A lot of my job is talking to people and, just being there for them, supporting them.
Yeah, interesting. Through this podcast, it's not just about the health. We touched a couple of times, it's been mentioned, the mental health side of fitness and exercise. Being a therapist, maybe not a psychologist, but I'd imagine talking with your clients. How do you engage with a client that you think may be having some mental health, maybe holding them back from getting involved in exercise?
Okay, so sometimes when people engage in physical activity, it brings about emotions and maybe underlying trauma that they've had in their life. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it happen a lot when people lose a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. It will bring about trauma, like bring it to the surface.
Okay.
And being in a gym like Genesis, it gives those clients a support network. So whether it be if I'm the first line and then other members and the staff, everyone feels very supported there. Yeah.
Interesting. You say people might have some hidden issues or trauma. Trauma is a great word. And after they go through a journey of fitness and lose weight, they then maybe rediscover themselves, and maybe that part of that rediscovery is dealing with some past issues?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Have you got an example, mate, of a client, without naming names, but have you got an example of a client that you've maybe been through a journey with of first meeting you, being hesitant to join a gym, then going through a weight program, losing weight? Have you got an example, mate?
Yeah, I've got quite a few. Probably one that stands out, I met a lady who was new to the gym scene entirely, and she had a lot of weight to lose. Mm-hmm. and had a lot of health problems, and my first discussion with her ended with her saying that she might be able to see me on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. and that day turned into 2 years of training.
Okay.
And in that time, she lost 50 kilos.
Wow.
And stopped having to use a lot of the medication. Mm-hmm. and basically turned her life around. So
yeah, wow, big journey over 2 years, and obviously a lot of weight. Probably leads us back into segue. Let's segue into another part of health and well-being, and we talk about food, our diet, and once a fan of Chico rolls, I'd have one daily because I figured it had all the food groups in the one Chico roll. But let's talk about diets, do's and don'ts. Over our podcast today, as simple as that, what's a do and a don't for dieting?
Okay, so usually when I'm working with someone, when it comes to nutrition, I try not to lay down too many strict rules. I like to be flexible with people. Mm-hmm. It's important to remember that when you're making changes, they need only be slight to reap good rewards from that. Mm-hmm.
So slight changes, are you talking about maybe cutting sugar out of a diet? Or
just little steps can lead to really great results.
Mm-hmm.
And I always sort of tell people that they don't need to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so long as you're good most of the time.
Yep. Probably a word, moderation. You don't have to go out and buy the 10 kilo drum of protein powder and eat broccoli 3 times a day or a dry fish or chicken. Are you saying just some consistency and some moderation in the
moderation
bad
is
foods?
key. Yeah, absolutely.
Not as many drive through McDonald's or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. For our listeners, we're on the 450 TV podcast. Mark Creedon, personal trainer at Genesis, and talking all things health and well-being. I like this conversation because I think we could delve into a future episode. We're already we like to keep our podcast around that 20-minute mark. So for our listeners, possibly another episode where we get Mark back in the studios. I'd really like to expand further on maybe the work-life balance, maybe a bit of that mental health, maybe some trauma that's happening in households with finances, stress, etc. I really think we could talk a bit further about those topics and expand on that for our listeners. So if you're up for that, Mark, we'll bring you back in for that.
Absolutely, mate. That'd be good.
Yeah, I just think there's so much stress and energy that we're losing in our daily lives with pressures, etc. And if it all starts just with that 30 minutes a day, as Mark said, with whether it's walking or just getting out, kick the soccer ball with the kids or walk on the beach. You know, we live in a beautiful part of the world here in the Moreton Bay region, and there's so much to explore. Even last night I saw people enjoying the Glasshouse Mountains, and you've been up there. That's a good activity to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. So we'll expand a bit further on that just for today's episode 3 of the 450 TP podcast, health and wellbeing. If you like the topic, get in touch with us. You can always reach us on our website of 4510tv.com and click the contact us section. And if you've got some input or some information or maybe some topics you'd like us to explore on the podcast series, feel free to contact us there. Mark Creedon, legend, trainer, personal trainer. If you could see him through the podcast, he's a fit looking bugger and obviously practices what he preaches. And just want to thank you for your time and
thank you, Scott.
Stay tuned.